Good morning, family and friends. Jonathan Ellis here, along with several really cool, awesome, inspiring people from a group. The rest of them, not so much, but we had the cream of the crop here this morning. Joe Teach is my wife, Kate, Miss Afiya Al-Fayiz, and Jessica Roman. Yeah, baby. So we're going to have fun today discussing the topics. I think we have 6 questions to go over. So this will be a lot of fun. And for those of you that are watching on Facebook, put your comments below. Let us know what you think as well. So good morning, everybody ready to do this?
I'm ready. I woke up early for this.
Yes, hey, it's worth it. All right, so question number 1, or number 72 is there a such thing as perfect? Hey, baby, why don't you take this one first, seeing as, you know, you're married to me.
Okay.
There, none.
You took the words out of my mouth. That's what I was going to go with. Now I got nothing, Jonathan. Thanks.
I would say no. There's nothing perfect, doesn't exist. I think that we as a society try to hit a bar that doesn't really exist. And I think that we should work to just better ourselves, be better every day, work towards bettering ourselves instead of perfect, which ends up being a competition with other people.
Very good. Very good. Who's got it next? Jessica, you up? Do you feel there's a such thing as perfect?
I'd have to agree with your wife here. No, there's not a such thing as perfect. I think people get in the trap of feeling like they have to be perfect. And really, your gifting is in you overcoming your imperfections and having a testimony on how you were able to push through to inspire others. So if God wanted us to all be perfect, he wouldn't have sent his son here to die for us and to save our souls. But he gave us free will so that in our imperfect flesh, we can choose the side of righteousness and influence others to do the same.
Awesome. 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 Afiya?
Yeah, I do think there's such a thing as perfect, but it's a concept. It's like what you move to, your idea of what a self-actualized situation is, or a self-actualized person, or not self-actualized, but what perfection would be in your mind. But in terms of like in real life, I don't think it exists, because there's too much room for different ideas and different people's different what perfection is, or you can't really put grid on on anybody's idea of what is perfect. But in one person's idea, there is a perfect standard, and that perfect standard can change every day. But I think it's like just a thing that you strive for, as opposed to an actual real thing that can be attained and repeated and all that.
Very cool. Mr. Joseph?
I agree with Afiya. I think perfect is a self-imposed idea, and we could reach it for ourselves. But I think where it becomes sticky is that we sometimes try to fit other people's idea of perfect, and that's when we feel like we're imperfect.
Very cool.
What about you?
Say it again?
I said, what about you?
I would say ultimately no. And the reason is because perception is reality. And so just a broad universal term of perfect, no. I do also agree with y'all saying that you have your own level of perfect. You know, I'm shooting for, everybody was here at 9 o'clock. That's perfect. We started this call at 9 o'clock like we had originally said. That's perfect. However, a general universal term of perfection, no. Because what is perfect to me is not perfect to Joe, is not perfect to Teach, is not perfect to Afiya or Jessica or anybody else watching. So universally, no. situationally, and there can be perfect. So that's where that's at. For those of you watching, let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Number 73, to what degree have you actually controlled the course your life has taken? Joseph, you're on my screen now. Go ahead with it, brother.
I'm going to go with about 85 degrees.
85 degrees?
Yep. And I feel as though, especially as I'm getting older, that I'm in more control of my life. When I was younger, I was obviously told what to do by my parents. I am now course correcting. That's why I'm saying 85 degrees, because I would like to make that 90-degree turn. So I got about 5 more degrees. And with you guys, I feel like I'm learning to do that.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Okay, question is, to what degree have you actually controlled the course your life has taken? Jessica?
I think I would have to answer that with, so the level of control, that's an interesting word. I feel like I've surrendered my life, honestly. When I try to control and do things according to traditional standards, go to school, graduate from school, get a job, do what the masses were doing, of course it allowed me to live, right, pay my bills and to survive. But I feel like as I've gotten older, God has been taking control of my life through a series of awakenings and events that have made me make different choices. So it was in the surrender for me to say that I'm now controlling my life and allowing God to speak, and for me to be in alignment more with his will and purpose for my life, as opposed to making my own choices, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Baby, teach, Kate, Mary.
I the word control again hits me a little bit, because I feel as though I've had a lot of control in allowing myself to make my decisions about what I want to do versus allowing other people make those decisions for me. Of course, having a supportive husband has allowed me to have more control, I guess you'd say, in the direction I get to go with my life. So I feel I have more control in the fact of their decisions that I want to make, that I want to do. Not as much of I don't have control over, the universe and things that are going on around me, but in my own path, I feel like I've had a lot of control.
Very cool. Miss Afiya, Al-Fayiz.
What's the question one more time?
Y'all are making me feel like Steve Harvey here. All right. Fast money is coming up soon. To what degree have you actually controlled the course your life has taken?
I don't remember how I answered this question yesterday, but like right now, like I feel like I've taken control. Like, to what degree? 100%. But do we always want to take control? Do we always have the courage to take control and really live in what that means? No. And I think you can't call it 50-50. You can't, there's not a way to detach from it. I think when we're kids, we have control of our lives, but our parents are teaching us how to navigate through our lives properly, right? Or to whatever extent they know how to drive.
Right.
But, when we become adults, especially since all of us are pretty personally developed, like when we start to learn different ways to drive our car, to operate our vehicle, we are taking 100% control. It's just, do we have the courage to go on NASCAR, or are we going to stick with golf carts, or you know what I mean? So that's the way I think about it. I think we have 100% of control all the time, but the way we see our vehicle changes depending on how we feel about ourselves.
Very cool. The answer is golf carts in Cumming, Georgia. So I'm not going to let off. And for those of you watching, Afiya is looking to move only to Cumming, Georgia, and she is having some resistance. So I am attempting to help her with that, so she can move up here and be close. Yes, and I see that smile. You're on board. Let's do it.
You be closer to Tampa too, so you be closer to me. So yes, I'm on board.
Love it. Okay, so what degree have you actually controlled the course of your life has taken? I would say the majority of it. I am also getting to a large point to where I am releasing a lot of that control, and that is more so in my business life. Right now, between my wife and I, we are invested in 7 businesses. She says 8, I say 7. We'll call it 7.5. And the thing is, I cannot possibly be overly involved in every one of them. So I am having to relinquish control to business partners that I have and things of that nature and let them run with the ball. That has been something that I've been working on a lot for the past several years. With my commercial services business, I was always the one there on the job site. I was always had my hand in everything, and it went decent until I backed away and trusted other people with it and relinquished much of the control of the company to others. That's when we really started to grow and expand and do a lot of things. And that also opened me up to be able to invest in other businesses and be involved in other businesses. And so the great thing is I finally practiced the concept that it is better to get 1% of 100 people's efforts than 100% of one person's efforts. And I read that many, many, many years ago. It has finally sunk in with me, and I am finally actually utilizing that. And I'll tell you, it works. It works, without a doubt. So, next question. We interviewed 100 men, and the question was, what does it mean to be human? Who hasn't gone first? Afiya, what's it mean to be human? Laughing all the time, smiling, living in Cumming, Georgia.
So what it means to be human is to have the power of choice, to have the power of free will, and to have consciousness. Animals are autonomous. They live how they live, and they just are literally the same creature over and over and over again. But to be human, you get to define who you are and how you interact with the world and how you interact with each other. You get to think, you get to have more complex thoughts. So to be human is to have a more complete experience in my humanistic point of view. And have free will to be responsible for all of the other creatures and other things on this planet that don't have that kind of autonomy. So that's my story. I'm sticking
to it. There you go. Joseph, what about you? The question is, what does it mean to be human?
Man, I really like Afiya's answer there. I when you said that, I didn't even know my own answer. I think Afiya's answer became my answer. I would say it's the idea of consciousness, the ability to literally think complex thoughts.
Very cool. Very cool. Jessica, what's it mean to you to be human?
For me, it would be undertaking the journey of finding your purpose in this world. When we are born, God had a plan for us, right? And it's our job to figure that out as we grow into our teenage years, 20s and 30s, and go through different experiences. If we are wise, we would seek out his counsel for revelations and direction on how to really use our time here on this earth. But because he gave us free will, we could either choose that path or choose our own path of making our own choices and our own free will. So I think it's just a journey of finding purpose and joy, and having joy in the process, meeting other people who are connected to your spirit and also want to find that purpose, who are heart-centered, and you can enjoy the journey together and figure out who you are. Yeah.
Very, very cool. Baby?
When I hear what makes, what does it mean to be human or things like that, I think about being real and authentic and true to yourself and just being you, breaking away from that. When I hear it, I think breaking away from that robot, mentality of there's a precise way that everything has to be done and everybody has to do it the same way and all of that. And I think that whole breaking away and just being you and authentic and accepting your own mistakes and flaws and learning from them. So just that authentic and real piece is what I think of.
That's awesome. I mean,
I like that answer.
I really don't know how to top any of those. Not that we're trying to top each other. So that came out wrong. I don't know what to add to any of that. I mean, y'all nailed that right on the head. So that what was funny about that, Afiya?
Oh my God.
What's funny about that one?
Well, based on the majority of the things that you've said recently, almost everything you say sounds a little bit like sexual innuendo. So
That's exactly how I take it, Afiya.
I can't top that.
And we're moving on to the next question.
My answer exactly. Okay. This one's for you first, Jessica.
Me.
If you look into the heart of your enemy, what do you think you would find that is different from what is in your own heart?
That's an interesting question. I think oftentimes we look at people who are in opposition to us as like a negative thing, but I feel like it's actually they may admire something about you that they would desire for themselves, and maybe it's not expressed in the right way. Maybe they haven't processed that or are not self-aware enough to understand that it's something that maybe they should learn from me instead of trying to tear me down. So I would say that maybe there's a little insecurity in their hearts. Maybe there's a little hesitancy to admit some of their flaws, and maybe some unhealed traumas that have them looking at someone else with a little jealousy. But we show love to everyone and compassion even when they are perceived to be an opponent, an enemy, because our job here is to win over our brothers and sisters. We want to win them over and not keep that resentment or that kind of negative energy between us.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. If I looked into the heart of my enemies, which I have none, what do you think I would find is in, okay. If I looked into the heart of my enemy, what do I think I would find that is different from what is in my own heart? Well, looking at me as an enemy, first of all. I mean, sure, there are people that we don't like. Sure, there are people that we're at odds with. However, to give much space or much time to those people is it is a complete waste of time. So somebody that holds resentment or bitterness or whatever toward me for whatever reason, clearly I would not find forgiveness in their heart. Whereas I have it in mind because it's just not worth wasting the time staying tied up or wrapped around what the issues are. So next, Joseph, if you looked into the heart of your enemy, what do you think you would find that is different from what is in your own heart?
What I think I would find is the complete opposite perspective than the one that I have. Even though I think that we're both looking at the same thing, I think we're seeing it from pretty much two different sides of the street. And that's why it looks different to both of us. I don't ever think that I'm right and somebody else is necessarily wrong. I think we just have two completely different perspectives, and that's it. And we're trying to find some kind of middle ground, and we haven't found it yet, and that's why we are enemies.
All right. Maybe what you got?
I don't know that I would see something different than what's in my heart. I feel that when you're at odds with someone, it's not always a thing of that they have something negative and I'm positive or opposite. I think it comes down to we are at odds about something. And, you know, Jessica brought up a good point. There can be trauma and things like that in our lives. And everybody has some sort of trauma. It's just that also is part of how you perceive stuff too. And so I don't know that I would see something different. It doesn't mean that they have hate in their heart. Their trauma may have led them to this belief, which could be completely opposite of my belief based on something that happened to me. So I don't know that there would be something different because, you know, they doesn't mean they don't have love in their heart. Their love looks different. Things like that, of that it could be just very how they're perceiving and how they're handling and how they're processing a situation or something like that that would lead them to be my enemy versus, and I'm using the word enemy because that's what's in the question, but you know, someone that I'm at odds with doesn't mean that they are lacking those things. They just look different.
Very cool. Afiya?
The question once more, please.
If you get into the heart of your enemy,
Mhm.
what do you think you would find that is different from what is in your own heart?
That was different. You know, I answered this differently. Like before, I would have said like they don't want to be like an enemy. I don't really have enemies. I don't really but if I think about people who, the closest thing is people who don't like me, they I don't know, I suppose it's a combination of everyone's answers so far. Is there's something going on within them that they haven't come to terms with, and I am a reflection of that. There's something that I am doing or something that I am being that they either don't want to be, don't have the desire to be, or can't be for themselves for whatever that reason is. And if I think about the people who don't like me, which I don't like doing, of course, but it's typically had to do with kindness. Because that's a really personal question. If you think about someone who is your enemy, just because someone is your enemy doesn't mean that they're everybody's enemy. You know what I mean? So like, if I think about the things that I know that has been expressed to me, it has had to do with being kind and being personable, and that person not necessarily having those qualities naturally, or celebrating the opposite, celebrating being catty, or celebrating being something other than that, the polar opposite of that. So what's in their heart is valuing the things that I don't value, or the things I value they don't value because they gain some kind of benefit from being themselves. So me being myself is a threat because it means that we can both coexist and one is not supreme to the other, and like that sort of thing. I don't really know how to answer that black and white because it's not black and white. But that's what I got.
Very cool. Very, very cool.